this guy's garage. Like and subscribe.
Oral questions. Questions orales. The Honourable Member for Northumberland Clark.
Israel has a right to defend itself, including by disarming Tehran's nuclear program. We should all hope that this is the end of the regime's nuclear program and that the great Persian people can now rise up to reclaim their country from this totalitarian regime. Sadly, anti-Semitism has been on the rise here in Canada. Can the government please tell us the extra steps that they will take to protect Canada's Jewish community from anti-Semites who might use the recent events as an excuse for violence?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I want to thank the member for the question. It's important on two fronts. It's important to remember always that Israel has the right to defend itself. Israel has the right to continue to make sure that it is safe and secure. At the same time, this government is committed to take action against the scourge that is anti-Semitism every day in our world. We will continue to stand up and defend Jews in this community to make sure they're safe. Thank you.
The Member for Northumberland Clark.
In the Auditor General's scathing report on Tuesday, we learned the Liberals failed to put in place the necessary safety, procedures and controls to safeguard Canadian taxpayer dollars. The result? $64 million to ArriveCAN's primary contractor, GC Strategies. Canadians work so hard for their money, Mr. Speaker. When will that money be returned? Will everyone in this House vote with Conservatives to get Canadians' money back?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and we thank the Auditor General for her work. Obviously, we can all agree in this House that misconduct of any kind in our procurement processes is completely unacceptable. It's notable that we've terminated all contracts and suspended security clearance for GC Strategies. An investigation and assessment were undertaken, and GC Strategies was deemed ineligible from receiving government contracts for 7 years. This matter has been referred to the RCMP, and legal matter is ongoing.
Member for Northumberland Clark.
We hear those same talking points over and over again. However, the only guarantee that we can have that taxpayer dollars will actually be protected is a change in leadership. Liberals keep getting rich, Canadians keep getting the tax bill, and why on all heavens was the ministers promoted instead of fired?
Secretary to the Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I know all of us can agree in this House that misconduct of any kind in our procurement processes is completely unacceptable. That's why our government has acted on this matter. An investigation was undertaken by OSIC. The company in question has been deemed ineligible for receiving any federal government contracts for 7 years, and the matter has been referred to the RCMP, and legal action is ongoing.
The Deputy de Beauce.
The Honourable Member for Beauce. Mr. Speaker, this week the Auditor General released a scathing report on ArriveCAN's primary contractor, GC Strategies. This company, with only 2 employees and currently under investigation by the RCMP, got a staggering $64 million from the Liberals. And worse, we don't even know if they did any work. The Conservatives have introduced a motion to ban this company for life. Will all members of this House vote to get Canadian taxpayers' money back?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I'm more than happy to repeat this as many times as the members opposite would like me to. Our government has taken a firm stance on this matter and said that any misconduct of any kind within our procurement processes is completely unacceptable. We have made improvements in the integrity of the system based on the Auditor General's report and recommendations. We've made sure that GC Strategies cannot no longer receive any government contracts for 7 years, and the matter has been referred to the RCMP for legal action.
Mr. Speaker, the Auditor General confirmed what we already knew. $64 million was handed to a 2-person company with no proof of work done. No security clearances, no deliverables, no competition. This was about enriching Liberal insiders, not about serving Canadians. So, Speaker, I ask, will everyone in this House stand with taxpayers and vote for our Conservative motion to get Canadians their money back?
Not the Liberals. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary, the Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, we can all agree in this House that the integrity of our procurement processes is of utmost importance, and certainly taxpayers are owed some answers. This company has been referred to the RCMP, and legal action is underway. We've also ensured that they can no longer enter into any contracts with the federal government for 7 years. Thank you.
Member for Middlesex London.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberal way is the harder that you betray Canadians, the more your friends reward you.
Right.
The Auditor General laid out a staggering failure. 82% of GC Strategy's contracts got no value for Canadian taxpayer money. Yet the Liberal ministers were all promoted under this new Liberal elitist Prime Minister. Canadians are paying the price for corruption while the insiders cash checks for doing nothing. So, Mr. Speaker, I ask, is this corruption the Liberal definition of merit-based appointments?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
I'm happy to repeat it for my colleagues again. GC Strategies has been deemed ineligible by the Office of Supplier Integrity and Compliance for any entering into contracts with the federal government. The matter has been referred to the RCMP and legal action is underway.
Sir, Moose Mountain.
Mr. Speaker, the Auditor General confirmed that GC Strategies, just a two-person company, was paid $64 million by this Liberal government. In nearly half the cases, there's not even any proof that any work was done. Departments ignored the rules and approved payments without deliverables. That's not just mismanagement, it's a betrayal of taxpayers. Will the Liberal government finally do the right thing and support our Conservative motion to finally get their Canadians their money back?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary, the Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, misconduct of any kind in our procurement process is completely unacceptable. We agree with members opposite. That's exactly why we've acted on this matter. We've conducted an investigation and assessment. The company in question has been deemed ineligible from any federal government contracts for 7 years, and the matter has been referred to the RCMP for legal action.
The member for Surrey, Moose Mountain.
Mr. Speaker, while the Liberals were stumbling around clueless, GC Strategies cashed in. The minister responsible weren't fired, they were promoted. Let that sink in. Failure led to reward.
That's terrible.
This is a pattern with these Liberals. Connected consultants profit, ministers fail upwards, and Canadians are left holding the bill. Why is it with these Liberals, the more you waste, the more you win, unless you're a Canadian taxpayer?
The Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Misconduct of any kind in our procurement process is completely unacceptable. That's exactly why we have acted on this matter, ensured that there's an investigation. The company in question is no longer eligible to enter into contracts with the federal government, and the matter has been referred to the RCMP. Legal action is ongoing.
Member for St. Albert's, Surgeon River.
Mr. Speaker, the Auditor General found no proof of work in nearly half of the contracts awarded to GC Strategies. These Liberals gave millions to GC Strategies to do literally nothing. Taxpayers deserve a refund, and they deserve a refund now. So, will the Liberals support our Conservative motion to get taxpayers their money back, yes or no?
Good question.
Good question.
Mr. Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, we agree, as I've said, that the integrity of our procurement process is of utmost importance to Canadians. That's exactly why we have deemed this company ineligible to enter into contracts for the next 7 years, and we've referred the matter to the RCMP. Legal action is ongoing.
Member for St. Albert's, Surgeon River.
Mr. Speaker, do you know what it's called when a company submits an invoice and accepts payment for work that wasn't done? It's called fraud. It's called theft. And under these Liberals, GC Strategies robbed taxpayers for millions.
Right.
Will the Liberals finally take responsibility and vote with Conservatives to get taxpayers their money back?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Of course, misconduct in our procurement process at any moment is completely unacceptable. That's exactly why our government has acted on this matter. We've done so responsibly. We've ensured the integrity of the system. We've ensured this company can no longer do any business with the federal government for 7 years. The matter has been referred to the RCMP, and legal action is ongoing.
The Honourable Member for Montmorency-Charlevoix. Mr. Speaker, since yesterday we've heard the government trying to offer us half-baked solutions to a problem that has cost taxpayers dearly. ArriveCAN. But it seems to have become a habit on the Liberal side to start fires, try to put them out, and then pat themselves on the back for failing. The latest example is the $60 million in public money given to GC Strategies, a two-person basement operation. Will the government support our motion to ban GC Strategies for life and demand Canadians get their money back? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Thank you for the question, Mr. Speaker.
Great to rise again and answer this question. Obviously, I've done so numerous times in this question period, and I'm happy to do so continuously for the remaining time that we have together today. GC Strategies is no longer able to enter into government contracts for up to 7 years. That's an investigation that we triggered, and the matter has been referred to the RCMP, and legal action is ongoing. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Lady Smith.
The Prime Minister says he wants to build, baby, build, but he can't even get the BC NDP to build Canadian ships for Canadian taxpayers in Canada. Instead, this Liberal government is letting BC Ferries send good-paying union jobs to a Chinese shipyard, even as China punishes our exporters with tariffs. Shame. What happened to elbows up? How is this Liberal government going to build one economy out of 13 if it can't even convince BC to support Canadian steel, Canadian infrastructure, and Canadian workers?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I share the opposition's concern regarding the procurement practices across all levels of government, especially at a time when Canadian workers are battered by tariffs from China and the United States. But now, more than ever, we must support Canadian workers and industries while also working in close partnership with our allies and trading partners. Of note, Mr. Speaker, this particular project was not undertaken by the federal government. BC Ferries is entirely under provincial jurisdiction.
The member for Nanaimo, Lady Smith.
Mr. Speaker, this government might like to put its head in the sand, but Canadian workers are struggling and China is deliberately targeting them. Canadian canola, seafood, and pork have all been hit with punishing tariffs. This government is standing by while a critical infrastructure contract goes to a Chinese state enterprise. Shameful. China uses trade as a weapon and detains our citizens. Is this the Liberals' economic strategy? Let China take our jobs, jail Canadians, and punish our exporters while Canadian industries get left out in the cold?
Minister of Transport.
Mr. Speaker, through you, thanks for the question. Number one, we have an important legislation, the One Canadian Economy Act, that is going to be focusing on creating one economy out of 13, which is Canadian goods, Canadian services, mobility, people working across the country with very little restrictions, reducing trade barriers. So when it comes to this government, Mr. Speaker, it's Canada first, always.
Member for North Island, Powell River.
Mr. Speaker, thousands of good-paying Canadian jobs were lost this week when BC Ferries announced the purchase of 4 new ships, not from shipyards here in Canada, but from shipyards owned by the Chinese Communist Party. This despite BC Ferries receiving more than $36 million in taxpayer money from this Liberal government, taxpayer money that is now subsidizing jobs in China, a country that has kidnapped Canadian citizens and has unjustly tariffed our farmers and our fishermen. Will this Liberals government stop pretending they're helpless, show leadership, and demand these ships are built in the best country in the world, right here in Canada?
Parliamentary Secretary, Minister of Transport.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I share the concern and I share the outrage. The reality is that this particular project, again, is under provincial procurement standards, regulations, and oversight. But I will tell you this, when it comes to this federal government, to everyone in this chamber, it is going to be Canadian first, always.
A member for Regina Louvain.
Mr. Speaker, no pipelines means no jobs for hardworking employees at Evraz Steel in Regina. My question is, how can these Liberals get pipelines built if they're looking for consensus? What does consensus mean, Mr. Speaker? And will they use Canadian steel to build these pipelines?
Minister of Energy and Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister and 13 premiers got together. They agreed on 5 criteria to get projects of national interest built. If the honourable member across the aisle wants to get people working in Saskatchewan, he should support the One Canadian Economy bill.
Member for Regina Louvain.
Can you imagine driving to work every day, wondering if that's the day you're going to get a layoff? For 10 years, these Liberals have had anti-development policies like Bill C-69, Bill C-48, emissions cap, and the industrial carbon tax. These hardworking men and women deserve a lot better answer than that. Will this government be like the old government? New guy, same as the old guy. No pipelines. Pipelines deserve to be built in this country. They run our economy. Will they use Canadian steel and pipelines?
Minister of Energy and Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, as I said, if the honourable member wants to get people working again, the One Canadian Economy Act is designed to get projects of national interest built. That will get steel workers back to work. That will get aluminum workers back to work. That will get forest products industries back to work. Please support the bill.
The honourable member for Prescott Russell Cumberland.
Mr. Speaker, this week the Prime Minister announced that Canada's new government is rebuilding, rearming and reinvesting in the Canadian Armed Forces. And with this increase in defence investment, Canada will achieve NATO's 2% target. Canada will lead with values the world respects, the resources the world wants, and an economy that leads the G7. Can the President of the Treasury Board share with the House why these investments are so important?
The Honourable President of the Treasury Board.
Mr. Speaker, I want to welcome the member from Prescott Russell Cumberland to the House of Commons. This new government has done what Conservative never could. We now have a plan to meet our NATO 2% commitment at half a decade earlier than scheduled. We promised Canadians that new Liberal government would take bold and decisive actions. Promise made and promise kept, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member for Skeena, Bulkley Valley.
Economists and bankers, most bankers that is, know that investment goes to countries where they are welcomed. For 10 years, this Liberal government has sent clear messages that investment in oil pipelines are not welcome in Canada unless it's destined for the United States at a discount. What's next? Canada's mineral resources? Surely the Prime Minister knows that no one is building a pipeline in Canada with Liberal anti-energy laws on the books. Or is it the Prime Minister's plan to keep Canadian oil and gas in the ground?
Good question.
Minister of Energy and Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, in Saskatoon, the Prime Minister and 13 premiers got together to talk about how we build projects of national interest. Those projects of national interest will include roads, highway, pipelines. They will include transmission lines. They will include renewable resources. If the honourable members on the other side of the House want to see many projects built, they should support this bill.
Member for Skeena, Bulkley Valley.
Diversifying our trade has been the goal of this Liberal government, but an article posted last night by The Economist states that the United States will be granted first rights of refusal on Canadian minerals. Before going to Washington, Mr. Carney asked officials to list the Canadian products that Mr. Trump needs the most. Rare earth elements and critical minerals top that list. It looks like the Liberals want to give first rights of refusal to our critical minerals, limiting our ability to sell to the world and diversify our economy. Is the Prime Minister negotiating guaranteed access to Canada's minerals to the United States?
Order. Order. Just a reminder not to use members' proper names. The Honourable Minister of Energy.
Mr. Speaker, mining is crucial to our economy, and with Canada facing American tariffs, we must support mining workers. That's why we will speed up permitting of new mines by cutting red tape and approving projects within 2 years. This will be in Canada's national interest. This will make Canada stronger. This will make us more sovereign.
Member for Portage Lisgar.
The Liberals have flip-flopped on pipelines more than a fish out of water. The Prime Minister claims he wants to make Canada an energy superpower, but Mr. Speaker, talk is cheap. If he's serious, he must repeal a decade's worth of Liberals' anti-energy laws. The No New Pipelines Act? Toss it. The shipping ban? Send it out to sea. The job-killing oil and gas production cap, scrap it. And the industrial carbon tax, kick it to the curb. When will the Prime Minister realize that we will never get a new pipeline built in this country without repealing these disastrous Liberal anti-energy laws?
Here, here.
Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister has been clear, and we have been clear, that to be an energy superpower, we need to make sure that we are low risk, low cost, and low carbon. What we have seen from the Conservatives when they were in government was that they didn't get projects built because they didn't do environmental assessments and they did not consult with Indigenous peoples. So if they want to see things built and built properly, I hope that they will support us in working on national interest projects that support our country.
The member for Portage-Lisgar.
Well, Mr. Speaker, that sounds a lot like that cheap talk that I mentioned. The Prime Minister said he will support a pipeline if there's consensus. But his Environment Minister is spinning an entirely different story. This week I asked her point blank to define consensus, and she shrugged her shoulders and said, "What consensus?" Well, I'm happy to tell the Minister what it means. Polling shows that 3/4 of Canadians support an east-west pipeline, with premiers also backing the idea. So if that's not consensus, what is? Will the Prime Minister set the record straight and define consensus for Canadians and tell us who, if anyone, holds a veto over a new pipeline project?
The Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Mr. Speaker, if he would like to remember the conversation on Monday evening, he'll remember what I actually said, which was that we saw an amazing moment of Canadians coming together, premiers and our Prime Minister, all talking about how we can do what Canadians have asked us to do, which is to build a strong Canada. The division that we see is from the Conservatives. We're going to work in favour of what Canadians want to see, which is to build a strong, united, sovereign Canada.
That's right. Member for Terra Nova, the Peninsulans.
Mr. Speaker, because of this government's economics failures, Newfoundland and Labrador is once again dependent on equalization payments from the West. And Newfoundland's employment has been entangled with the West for decades. So we understand that when the West does better, all Canada does better. But in order for the West to succeed, they need to get their resources to market. Now, Mr. Speaker, will this Liberal government repeal C-69 that stops new pipelines, repeal 40C-48 that blocks our shipping exports, and remove production caps so all of Canada can prosper?
Minister of the Fisheries.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I want to echo again what so many of my colleagues have said today. We are focused on building the economy in Canada, of working with premiers and provinces and territories, building a strong Canada so provinces like mine and the member opposite, Newfoundland and Labrador, who is rich in natural resources, will be part of these projects that we will get built in record time and will benefit everyone in this country.
Member for Caribou, Prince George.
After a decade of failed drug policies, increasing deaths and revolving door prisons, these soft-on-crime Liberals still don't get it. Another drug bust in Williams Lake has resulted in a repeat offender being caught with so-called safe supply, arrested in the morning and released the very same day. If the minister won't take them off the street for good, will he at least stop giving them free drugs to sell?
Good question. Parliamentary Secretary, the Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. President, the Strong Borders Act will combat organised crime, protect the integrity of our immigration system, equip law enforcement with the tools they need to strengthen our border. And Bill C2 is also contributing to our crackdown on fentanyl trafficking with important measures to support law enforcement, such as improving interagency intelligence sharing and empowering law enforcement to intercept and search shipments suspected of smuggling illegal drugs.
Member for Caribou, Prince George.
Tyler Dunlop, 17. Sydney McIntyre Starco, 18. Evelina Baldelli, 16. Camilla Sward, 14. Elliot Yurchuk, 16. Mathis Boyven, 15. Darian Clayton Fleet, 18. Nakia Sugar, 15. Catherine McParland, 19. Logan Williams, 16. Chayton Point, 13. Brianna McDonald, 13. The leading cause of death for youth in my province of British Columbia is overdose. Kids. And they're dying. If this isn't a crisis, what is?
Parliamentary Secretary of State, combating crime.
I want to thank the honourable member for the question. Canada's new government takes this incredibly seriously. The fact of the matter is the global rise of fentanyl has torn through our communities and our families. That's why this government has committed to hiring 1,000 new CBSA workers and 1,000 new RCMP personnel to take the fight to the bad guys. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The member for King Vaughan.
Speaker, auto thefts are up 46%, violent crime is up 50%, and just yesterday, York Region Police arrested 4 suspects in a violent auto theft in Vaughan, where 2 of them were repeat offenders. This is a result of failed Liberal laws like Bill C-5 and C-75. Even the Mayor of Vaughan and the Chief of York Region Police are calling for an end to catch and release madness. Would any Liberal who thinks this is acceptable kindly explain this to the residents of King Vaughan?
The Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you for the question, Mr. Speaker. Look, the fact of the matter is this new government is committed to, like I said in the previous question, taking the fight to the bad guys. We are committed to hiring 1,000 new CBSA workers and 1,000 new RCMP personnel. This comes back to the Strong Borders Act, and I expect the honourable member to support us in making sure that the police services have access to the resources they need.
A member for Yellowhead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It has been 5 years since the Liberal government pushed through their order in council targeting responsible firearms owners with a confiscation scheme. 0 individuals have had their firearms bought back, yet gun crimes have gone up 116%. As a person with an RPAL, which, by the way, is restricted possession and acquisition, if the minister still doesn't know, the statistics baffle me. Why won't this Liberal government focus on criminals, make our streets safe, and leave our responsible firearms owners alone?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary, Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, the gun buyback program is a serious program to ensure the safety of our communities. Already 12,000 firearms have been bought back and 10,000 have been destroyed. The buyback program provides fair compensation to businesses and will soon provide it to firearm owners. We will soon be meeting with people from the RCMP firearm warehouse for further discussions, and we will seek to understand concerns surrounding the program. The Honourable Member for Mont Saint-Bruno-Lacadie. Mr. Speaker, people in my riding of Mont Saint-Bruno-Lacadie often speak with me about the importance of protecting Canada in a world that is increasingly dangerous. From the west to the east, to the north and, of course, in Quebec, we all must respond to the international situation and build Canada strong. Could the Minister of National Defence describe to this House the new investments that the government is making in defence? Mr. Speaker, I would like to thank my colleague from Mont Saint-Bruno-Lacadie for his hard work. Our government has just revealed a plan to rebuild, re-equip, and reinvest in our Canadian Armed Forces. The Prime Minister has announced a generational of investment of over $9 billion. This means that we will reach the 2% NATO target this fiscal year. When it comes to something as important as Canadian defence and security, Canadians can count on their new government.
Langley Township, Fraser Heights.
After 10 years of these tired old Liberals, the cost of housing has doubled, putting the dream of ever owning a home out of reach for so many Canadians. But it has also aggravated the homelessness crisis, which, incidentally, the current housing minister, when he was mayor of Vancouver, said he would eliminate. Well, today, with 28,000 British Columbians without secure housing, many living on the streets, will the minister acknowledge that 10 years of big spending announcements and photo ops has failed to deliver real results for Canadians?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I joined this government because we have a credible plan for affordable housing.
Hear, hear.
We are building on the past success of this government in that regard. Our first measure includes a cut to the GST for new homeowners. We're also looking to launch Build Canada Homes, and we'll be working alongside our municipalities to decrease development charges while making sure that municipalities remain whole.
Hear, hear.
Member of Central Newfoundland.
Fishermen and farmers feed families. This season, Chinese tariffs on harvests from the land and the sea are impacting livelihoods of those that depend on markets in China. These tariffs are a direct result of this Liberal government's bungling of trade relations with China. Tariffs that range from 25% on lobsters to 100% on canola. My question to the Minister of International Trade is, when can farmers and fishermen expect this Liberal government to fix the mess they've made so they can get relief from Chinese tariffs?
Minister for International Trade.
At all times defend our national interests and the best interests of Canadians. Last week I sat down with the Minister of Commerce for China, Minister Wong, to talk about some of these issues that we're working through, whether it's canola, beef, pet food. These are some of the issues that came up at the table. We agreed to launch the JETC Commission, which is the Joint Economic Trade Committee, to work through some of these issues because we know we need to continue to open new markets for Canadians. Thank you.
Member for Central Newfoundland.
Mr. Speaker, it's time for that minister to go to sea in a gale of wind on a fishing boat or get some dirt under his nails on a farm with our hard-working farmers. Clearly, there's no respect for those that toil to feed their families and everybody else's family and to play such a crucial role in food security for Canada. Amen. So will the minister get relief from Chinese tariffs, or are fishermen and farmers just collateral damage in a trade war that these Liberals don't know how to fight?
The Honourable Minister for International Trade. The Honourable Minister for Fisheries.
I would like to say once again to my colleague across the aisle, repeat of what was said in the last question. The fact is that Canada is working to protect workers, and rather than slogans and misinformation and just negativity, we are actually doing the work of opening dialogue actively on the ground to ensure that the workers in Canada are protected. We will have Canadians back.
Member for Mississauga Centre. The Honourable Member for Edmonton Strathcona.
Israel has bombed dozens of sites in Iran, including residential homes, causing hundreds of casualties, including children. Netanyahu is leading the region into yet another war where civilians will pay the price. Canadians with loved ones throughout the Middle East are terrified of what comes next. We need de-escalation, diplomacy, and rule of law. Will Canada condemn this latest escalation, finally commit to real nuclear disarmament, or will they stand with the Conservatives against international law?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary, the Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Again, I thank the honourable member for the question. However, I begin by saying Israel has the right absolutely to defend itself within the bounds of international law. At the very same time, we have a responsibility to de-escalate this situation. Our minister has been very clear that this escalation will not help. We have several priorities. We want to ensure that hostages are released. We want to ensure humanitarian aid is delivered. We want an immediate ceasefire. Canada will exercise every diplomatic tool we have to ensure that peace is our ability is brought to a fore.